Okay, so this is week two. Okay. Um, please confirm if you can still hear me.
Yes, you can. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I want us to follow closely now. All right. So today's class will be a mixture of both theory and practical. So which is why I'm saying you should follow me closely. So we are already in week two. So and we are talking about HTML foundational. So I want us to um follow closely. So and as much as possible. So I want us to be able to cover um so many things tonight. Okay, so I want us to be able to cover so many things tonight so that we can move with the speed of light. So we'll be speaking about HTML, right? So which is the foundation for web development. Okay, so let me just use this to explain um to drive home the point around HTML. So if you look at us now as human beings, right? So you know that as humans we have bones, we have tissues, we have um, cells and all that and all that. So where I'm going is that for every living organism that, or let me say, I am animals. So we have something in common, which is the bones, right? So the bones is what gives us the structure that we have, right? So that someone is able to sit down, that someone is able to stand up and maintain a particular posture, right? So it's because of the bone. So if the bone is not there, the hand may not really be able to stand straight. I don't know if you understand me. So that's the way HTML is to website. So HTML gives the the structure to a web site, right? So and it's the foundation for every web um, development, right? So if you are able to understand this one very well, right, so it will help in so many things that we're going to talk about subsequently. Okay. So we'll proceed from there. So this week we'll be talking about HTML, right? So from a blank file, we'll be talking about semantics, we'll be talking about value, we'll be talking about so by the end of this week, actually, you should be able to build a site that you can navigate through from one place to another. You should also be able to understand what the HTML structure is, the document. So you'll be hearing so many things about document, right? So the HTML structure itself is all referred to as the document. So you should be able to understand what makes an HTML document. Then you should be able to understand common tags and attributes that we have. Then you should be able to understand headings, paragraphs, links, image, lists, and so on and so forth. So you should also be able to build a multi-field forms, right? So forms where people can type something, at least with appropriate input types, right? So input type that I mean is that if you tag a place email, right? An email should always have something that is unique, which is that at button. So if someone now types something and there is no at there, right, it should not accept it, right? So we'll talk about some of those things. So then you should be able to now apply the semantics of HTML5 element to structure a page meaningfully, right? So that's what we'll be talking about this week. Okay. So now to document anatomy and um, common tags and attributes. Okay, Why is this very important? Why does it matter? So going forward now, we'll be following a structure in this class. So we'll talk about why it matters, then we'll talk about the concept, then we have questions and all that. So that's the way I've been able to structure the lecture going forward now. So why does it really matter? Right. So every website you will ever build is actually to start from here, meaning that it will serve as a foundation for every website that you build. So HTML is like a skeleton of every web page. You remember, like I said, I spoke about our bones, right? So you know the bones is what constitutes the um, skeleton, right, of human body, right? So it's the skeleton for every web page. So by week 3 and between week 3 and week 7, right? So we'll talk about CSS, we'll talk about JavaScript. So everything we'll talk about going forward builds on top of this HTML. So any mistake you make here now, right? So can get added to fix, right? So also browsers, screen readers, search engines, they all read the HTML structure, right? So the fact that you can go on Google now and just type something and to bring out some suggestions. So this is where it's starting from. So they call something SEO, search engine optimization. Search engine optimization. So it comes from here. Accessibility too, it also comes from here. So if you don't understand what the accessibility is talking about, so you will know that, I don't know if you've seen anybody that is physically challenged before. Maybe you see someone that is blind and they are able to operate their mobile phones, and you'll be wondering that, how are they able to operate this and all that and all that. So this this is one of the reason why they are able to. So we'll still talk about it later, and I will start pointing out some of those things when we start the class, writing practically. I mean, so now also this is your very first code, the very first code that you will write, right? That a browser will render, right? So today's win now is seeing your own words appears like a real web page. Okay, so um, so going forward now, I will just when you have a task for the day, you build. So sometimes, so I will drop some things on the WhatsApp page, right? So a typical example of what you can um excuse me, typical example of what you can design. Then going forward, so I'll make sure I upgrade that element so that you can see the picture and everything there. All right, thank you. Um, do we have any question, or I can proceed? Do you have any question?
You can proceed, sir. We are following.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's go forward. Now, the anatomy of HTML document. The anatomy of HTML document. Okay, so there are certain things I want you to understand, and I'll start showing you in some minutes time. A document, an HTML document, has 4 parts. It has 4 parts, right? The first one, so you see something like doc type HTML. Okay, so this is telling you so this doc now is like document type, right? So it's telling you that, okay, the document type is HTML. So once a browser sees this first line, right, it will tell the browser that this is a modern HTML5. Okay, is a modern HTML5 um, um, site, right? So that's what that first line is talking about. Okay. Give me 1 minute. So I'll stop sharing and I'll share back so that we can follow through together. So doc type, like I said, is talking about the document type, right? So which will tell the browser, that okay, this is an HTML file. Okay, so yeah, give me 1 minute. So okay. So that's the first part of every website. That's the first part of every website. That's the first part that you see in every website. Okay, so let's move forward. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
No.
Yes,
Yes, I
sir.
can.
You can see it now.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be moving from one screen to another now, going forward. So majorly I'll be moving between this Visual Studio Code and that's what is it called? So now I want to create a folder. So let me create this folder and type it section 1 section_1. Right, so and inside this section 1 now I want to create my first HTML. So your first HTML file should always be index.html. 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 Okay, so sorry about that. So index.html, and this is what we spoke about. So we said it should we have doc type HTML, and what this is will tell the browser is that this is an HTML5 document. Okay. Let me put it on top and I'll comment that. So I'll still talk about commenting, right? So sometimes you put some things in your source code, right, and you don't want it to show, right? So that's the example of what I put here now. So it's showing that. So this one now, it won't interfere with my code at all. Yeah, so this is an HTML5 document. Okay, so that's the first part. That's the first part. Then the second part is the HTML, itself, which wraps the entire page, right? So it has an opening and a closing tag, right? So you can then have HTML, then you close your tag. You see that it has an opening and a closing tag. Then inside this HTML, right, we now have the other two tags, which is the head and then the body. I take that again. So this HTML tag now will wrap the entire page, right? So meaning that anything you have in between this HTML tag, right, is what will contribute to so many things that the browser will see. Okay. So then I said we'll have the head. Okay. Then we have the body. Um, so this is what we've just done now. It's just a simple it's just a very simple HTML structure, the head and the body. Right. So last week I told us about something. Let me clear out all this. Let me clear out all this. So I said if you press shift, okay, if you press shift and then exclamation mark, you see something like this. This first one, ment abbreviation. So just press enter. It automatically give you the boilerplate. So the boilerplate here that we mean is um the what's it called now? The structure. The structure. So now let me um now go back to this slide. Okay, so we've already spoken about these four parts. We have the doc type, we have the HTML, the head, and then the body. So you see, this is the HTML opening tag. So this is the closing tag. If you let's do something. So we'll try and practicalize some of these things. Or do you know what? Let me hold on to a part where um hello. Okay. So now there are key attributes that you will use every day, right? So on this HTML tag, you will always see language, eg, sorry, why am I saying en? Okay, so this actually tells the browser or the screen readers that the page is in English language. So if you now want to build your page in German or whatever, you have to change that language. But commonly or for most of our web pages, right? So we just put it as en. Okay. So also you will come across what we refer to as an ID, and we also come across class. An ID is just like you saying that we have identity number. Okay, you know that in Nigeria now we have our NIN. That's the national identity number, right? So you can never see two people having that same number, right? So with that same understanding too, if you use an ID in your web page, you can only use it once. You can only use it once. Okay, you cannot use an ID twice, right? But for a class, right, you can use a class as many times as you want. That's the difference between the two. So once you attach an ID to a tag, right, you can't use it somewhere else. If you use it somewhere else, it won't work for what you want to use it for. Right? So it's a unique name for a specific element, right? So while a class is a reusable name, right? So let's say for instance now, I have this H1, hello world. So I have another H1 and I call this hello world word 2. Okay, so if you now, so for every tag that you see, we have an opening tag and a closing tag. So this is what I mean. This H1 now, okay, this H1 now, what am I pressing? Okay, so you see this, you see that I wrote it as less than, then H1, then greater than, then before, and now for the closing one now, the closing one will have a forward slash, right? That's so this is an opening tag. This thing that I'm doing now, I need to comment it out, because if I don't comment it out, it will go and show. Don't worry, I know why it's doing what it's doing. So this is an opening tag, and then this is a closing tag. So now inside the opening tag, that's where you can assign ID or you can assign class. So after each one now, I'll just do space, then I'll do ID. You'll see that it's suggesting so many things for me. ID, item ID. So it's this first one. So once you click it, it will then bring double quotes. Then you can put whatever ID that I want to put there. So I want to put it as word 1. Okay. So this one now, I can give it an ID of word 2. Sorry, I want to see something. Word 2. Right, so that's how to define an ID, an identity for a particular element. Okay, so then for a class now, so I can give the two of them the same class. I can give the two of them in the same class. I can give them class new. Right, so you understand what we use all these things for later, right? So and also a an element can have more than one class, but an element will always have an ID. I take that again. So an element can have more than one tag, right? But an element will always have just one unique ID. So okay, so if I take this as new, so I can also give it you can also give it a class of elements. So then I give this one a class of elements 2. So they have something in common. They have a class in common, which is new. Then they have a unique one other unique element, which is element and element 2. Okay, so maybe someone is asking that, okay, what are elements? Right? So from last class, I spoke about tags, right? So we have heading tags, we have paragraph tags, we have anchor tags, we have list tag, a quite number of them, right? So we'll still talk about them as we proceed. Okay, so attributes always live inside an open tag. I've already said this, right? As name is equal to value, meaning that once you want to define an attribute, you put it in an opening tag. That's the opening tag of an element, right? Then you put the name of that attribute, which can be ID or class. Then you put the value inside double quotes. Put the value inside double quotes. I hope we are following. Are we following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hope I'm not too fast.
You.
Not at all, sir.
Okay. Okay. If I'm too fast, please talk. If I'm too slow too, you can talk. I can increase my speed. But I want us to understand all this. So that's why I'm taking it one by one. So now, what are the common tags? Okay, and attributes that we have. So we have heading tags. We have heading tags, which are H1 to H6, right? So, but generally, right, once you have a page, you shouldn't have more than one H1. I take that again. H1 is heading 1, right? So which is the biggest heading that we have, right? So in a page, you shouldn't have more than one H1, right? So that's the um how will I put it now? So that's more like the way website is supposed to be. Ideally, if you want to build professionally, right? So, and which is usually the title page. Let's go back to let's go back here. So under this section 1 now, you can start building with me, or if you want to, or you can build it later. So I want to do an about page, about.html. Okay, so this is my about page now. I did my normal this thing. Then inside this body now, the first thing I want to define is my H1, right? So which I will call about us. Maybe I'm building a website for an organization, then about us. So that's the title of this page. Okay. So if you come here now and you open with live server, if you open with live server, so you see. So this is how H1 looks like. This is how H1 look like. This is the about us. Okay. So let's go back to. So now here we now have so since we've established that, so let's close out all this and let's start building something. Maybe you can build a small website tonight. So let's say this is our H1, and then we want to talk about, we are talking about tags. Let me tags, right? So which is headings and paragraph. Okay. So that's each one. Then you have H2. Okay. How can I do this? And then we have H2. We have H2. Then we have H3. All these are just heading types. We have H4. We have H5. Then we have H6. So there's nothing like H7. So this is, sorry, I typed H7. So there's nothing like H7. So the heading stop at H6. So we now have this is heading 2. This is how it looks. So this is heading 3. Then this is heading 4. Then this is heading 5. And this is heading 6. Heading 6. So let's view this page. So you can see the difference now. You see that this is the H1, which is the biggest, right? Then this is heading 2, this is heading 3. You see that all of them have something in common. They are bold, right? So they are bold letters. So that's why they are headings, right? So, and like I said last class, this title we can change it to the title of our page, right? So we can call it week 2, section 1. Okay. Then this about page now we can call it about us. About us. Please be following, or you will see that after this class now you can play around and create something unique. And that's something about um web development, is more of creativity. And so how can you use the knowledge to come up with so many interesting things? And so those are the heading tags. Let me put a okay, so let me now show you something. You can see that I put these heading tags here now, right? But if you go and look at this page now, it won't show here. So it's just a comment. So it is a comment that will help anyone that now open this code to understand what is going on here. So you can show. So the interesting thing is that some developers will tell you that they don't want to put comments so that it will be difficult for someone else to read. But the interesting thing is that by the time you start building, and you have close to like 700 lines of code, 800, you'll be building everything small. If you now have an issue and then you want to refer to a particular place, you yourself, you may not understand what you've done again until you now have to start sitting down. So it's professional, right, to put comments while you are building code. Okay, so that is about that. So let me go back to slide. Then, so we've talked about H2 to H6, which is necessary below in order. So it's like table of contents, right? So now um the practice is that if you use H2 now, right, inside this H2 you can now use H3. Inside H3 you can use H4. Inside H4 you can use H5. Inside H5 you can use H6. So let me try and explain what I'm trying to say. So this is H2, which is heading 2. Then let's change this thing to let's say we want to build something around foods. Okay, then our H2 will be what is food. So that's one H2. We can do another H2 and say want to talk about classes of food. So inside this H2 now, right? So then this food, don't worry, I'll be using so many fillers now. I want to use a paragraph tag. Right? So a paragraph tag is just P, then you close your tag, right? So don't worry, you don't mind this thing that is showing here, right? So inside these classes of food now, right? So don't worry, let me not jump. So when we get there, we'll build up. So what I've done is now that I've used a paragraph tag, right? So this is how a paragraph tag will look. Okay, now this is one interesting thing. What happened here now is that this is an H element, right? So because this is inside an H2 element, so it also takes the characteristics. So this is what I'm saying. This paragraph now, I put it inside this H2, right? So that's why it's taking the characteristics of H2. So if I copy this, if I cut this paragraph now and I put it just below, so you will see the difference now. Can you see the difference? Can you see the difference? So this is what I have inside the classes of food. Mhm. So they now have their unique tag. Okay. So the classes of food now, I can use H3 to now define the classes of food that we have. So what are the classes of food that we have? Let's say we have proteins, then we have don't worry, I'll be using fillers now. Then we have so let's go and see what our page is showing. So you see that okay, this is the classes of food. We have all this 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's just keep the momentum going. So that's it. So this is what a paragraph tag looks like. This is just paragraph. It's just paragraph. So browsers ignore extra white space or line breaks in your code automatically. What this is saying is that so you see the way this page is now. So we have what is food, then you see that they have almost the same space. So if I come to this line of code now and I move this one down and put plenty space, you see that this is line 16, this is line 53, and I put this one down. So I give it enough space that I want. It will still be the same. Right. So all this space here is just to arrange your code in such a way that it will be easy to read. Right. So you can use all those space and just to you see that when I was doing this H3, I put space between H3 and H5 just for us to be sure that we are able to read it well. Make sure you follow. You will build a small site this week. Okay. So one idea per paragraph, right, keeps the HTML or your writing readable, right? So it's just that you can look it like you are writing an essay, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. Once you are defining each of those paragraphs, you can put a p tag, right, just to build the paragraph. Okay, so this is the worked example. I think we've done this, right? So this is now showing us something like we want to build our profile page. Okay, that's what I will have even done. Uh, Let me create another folder so that I will, no, no, no. Let me create another folder. Okay.
Sir, I don't know if you are talking, but we cannot hear you, sir.
Wonderful Jesus. I've spoken. I've said a lot. Jesus.
We
I
cannot
didn't know
hear
my.
you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've said a lot. Jesus. So I created this my portfolio folder. Right? And I created index.html. So I'm saying I was saying that um we will use this portfolio folder to build something like a portfolio for yourself. Right? And I titled that website Olushayo Babi. Then say some things about myself, each one each one paragraph type. So I said this section one now will be our workbench, right? So where we can test so many things. Then we'll be building this portfolio as a normal website which will progressively build on. Here you get. So that's what I did, right? So when I'm just trying to replicate this example that we have here. Do you understand? So sorry about that. Okay. Now, what are some of the mistakes that beginners do make, right? Number one, forgetting this doc type. Forgetting this doc type. Forgetting, so the browser, right, will fall back to old version of HTML or any, so it will shall render properly, right? So number two is that you will make this mistake countless time, right? When you open a tag and you don't close it. Let's say for instance now, I did this paragraph tag and I mistakenly delete this closing tag and I put this on here. So I now go back to my website page to see what I've done. Okay. So sometimes it will show, sometimes it won't show. It shouldn't show on the norms actually. You should try and eh. This is it now. If you look at this, I opened H2 here. I didn't close it here. I now open the paragraph tag here. But if you now go back to my page, everything the two is showing as H2. Then I'll be wondering that no, this thing is not supposed to be bold. It's supposed to be a paragraph. Why is this showing like this? What happened? Right. So that's one of the things that happens when you don't close your tag. So you should always close your tag. Right. For though there are some tags that are self-closing, meaning that they are just one single tag. So we'll soon get there too. Right. So but leaving tags that are supposed to be closed unclosed is one of the errors that we make too as a beginner. Then skipping headings level. So just move from H1 straight up to H4. It's not too ideal. So we should keep it from H1 to H2 to H3 to H4 to H5. So we should keep that structure, right? Then sometimes too, we use an ID for something that repeats, right? So you remember um, I said that an ID is unique to a particular element, right? Oh, so now I can give this H1. This hash sign just means home. I can type it as okay, no. So let's give it an idea of home. Then this one now, so you can give it a class of um, container, or let's say logo. Then let's give this one the class of container. Then let's give this one the class of details. So see all these things, there's no strict rule on how what you will give your class or your ID, but you just be creative about it and then be sure that and that it's not something that is too complicated. Okay, right. So those are the common mistakes. So now we'll discuss. So which part of today's boilerplate would you guess wrong before class and why? So let's ask questions now. So from what we've done so far, right? So you should now be able to complete a valid HTML boilerplate, right? then you should be able to understand what headings are, the structure. So not styling now, just the structure. Then you should know the difference between ID and class, because you will see a lot of all this going forward. Any question? Any question? Any question? If there are no questions, so we still have like 30 minutes. Let me see. Um, let's see if we can do anchor tags, or should we stop here? Should we stop here? Let's talk, or should we stop here? And we can still continue.
Thank you very much. I think we should stop here because most of what you've said we've not practiced it, so it shouldn't be pile up for us. Maybe we should just stop there and continue later.
Okay, thank you. That's the
We can
feedback I
continue,
have.
sir.
So okay. Where?
Yes, sir. You need to practice this thing. Let's stop here, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we now have two against one. So let's stop here so that it won't be too much. Right. So but the most important thing is that we should understand um and what all this is all about. So what I will also do, right, to help us is that I will screenshot these two index files, screenshot and drop it on the WhatsApp page. Then I'll make sure I update our daily tasks too. So I'm sorry, I couldn't update you, right? So that's on my side. So sorry about that. So I'll update it tonight, right? So I'll update it tonight.